Hey there, Tori here with the Quilting on the Side podcast. Really quickly, I want to share some exciting news with you. I wrote a book. It's called Workshops Unleashed: How to Design Engaging and Successful Workshops for Quilters and Crafters. So if you're ready to have fun, make money, and truly connect with your students, Workshops Unleashed will guide you every step of the way. You'll learn how to craft sessions that resonate with your audience, attract more participants, and keep them coming back for more. With practical tips, templates, and marketing strategies, you'll discover how to turn your passion for teaching into a thriving business. And this book has everything you need to make your workshops a hit. You can pre order now through September your ebook or your paperback version of Workshops Unleashed, and you can check the show notes for the link. So I hope you enjoy this episode of the Quilting on the Side podcast.
Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. Welcome to all the side hustlers to our list building episode of Quilting on the Side. I know Tori is excited because she is the social media digital marketing queen, and she's going to have a lot of good information. So let's just dive right in. So why all this focus on email?
So email, and you say queen, I think myself more of a scientist. I love to experiment with digital marketing. It's so much fun for me. So email is, I think, it's still very powerful. We hear a lot about social media is king, and I really see that social media is queen in my business. And I hear with a lot of digital marketing experts that they're still saying email is the number one way they're reaching their customers. And there's been a lot of talk about new platforms coming up and going down, up and down, up and down. And then, of course, we had a few blackouts with social media. And everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people were panicking that they lost their audience. So email is still a really strong way to reach your audience. For the most part, the open rate of an email, so the way that you're reaching your people, the percentage rate is, in my business, I'm going to say, and the average is about 40%. In my business, it's about 45% more than social media. Or not more, I should say more. It's 45%. Social media reach is about 10%, and that's on a good post, like a reel or something really engaging. Then I have about 10% of my audience are able to see that. Whereas with an email, I send out an email and about 45% on average open that email and see the content. Now they don't always click through. Of course, those click-through rates are going to be a lot lower depending on what you're putting in there. But the fact that they can see what you're offering is huge, and you can personalize it. So you can tag people, you can personalize your content. There's so much you can do with email, and they're getting it in their inbox, and they're also not getting it in between all the political posts and all of the family posts, and which could be really emotionally gearing, where their inbox can be a very safe place, a place that they have curated for themselves. So all those different factors, I think, play into keeping email still the number one way to reach your audience. So what do you think,
Yeah,
Andi?
I really see it as the foundation piece of your business efforts, just for all the reasons you've said. We don't control social media. We're always trying to figure out the algorithm and what kind of content is performing. And like you said, with an email, it's just, it's that very personal connection. This is what I have to offer. I'm speaking directly to you. That's why I think so many business coaches preach and train people to depend on their email list. like you said, there could be a blackout. This platform could go down. It could totally change the algorithm. If you don't want to be doing dancing videos, just write a simple message and get connected with your super fans, your core followers. So that brings us to the question, how do you even grow or set up an email list if people are just starting out? What do you tell people in those early stages?
Definitely. So you want to find a platform that works for you. And we were kind of discussing what makes a good platform. And we're definitely looking for something that gives you the tools that you need. So if you don't have a website, you can find a platform with landing pages. So you don't even need a website in order to start getting emails coming in. You can just find an email service provider that has landing pages. And if you're not sure what kind of email service providers are out there, just Google email service providers and you'll get a list of all the top ones. There are comparison lists out there, so you can kind of choose what's in your price range, what aspects you're looking for. Again, one of those would be landing pages. Another one I would say is automations. So price, landing pages, automations. Andi, is there anything you would add for that?
I think those are the key things to look for. And obviously, they have different tiers. So a lot of them have a free level that, when you're just starting out with, up to 100 or 1,000 or whatever the number is, different levels as you grow your list. You don't need all the services. You don't pay for all the services until you reach some of those higher levels. So just get started. Everybody says that they wish they had started growing their email list sooner. So yes. I think this kind of gets to one of the growth strategies, but even if you haven't launched your website, you haven't put out your first pattern yet, you can start building your email list and, tease people, hey, coming soon. You think of being in your local area, your town or your city, and there's that empty lot, and all of a sudden a building starts going up and you see the construction and they've got the fence around it and it's got the banner that says grand opening on whatever date, and it becomes something you look forward to. So you can take that same feeling and use it with your email list and get started connecting with your audience and your fans and followers, no matter what level your business is at.
Definitely. You can just start by asking people to join. Hey, I'm going to start an email list. If you would like to know when I'm opening my business, when I'm launching this particular thing, join the email list. They'll be the first to hear, just like a banner across a fence, just letting them know, hey, this is coming. If you want to be the first to hear, join my email list. And then I would also say with email service provider platforms, if you don't like the one that you've chosen, it's very easy to move. They make it surprisingly easy to move your list from one place to the next. Now, setting up your automations, that's going to take some time, but moving the list itself is pretty easy. So I don't want that.
Yeah,
and
those
to get hung up on what happens if I choose MailerLite and I don't like it, or what happens if I'm in Flowdesk and, oh no, now I can't move for a year. You can usually end your contract and move to a different platform if it's just not working for you.
Yeah. Very, very easy. I've done it several times. You just download the CSV, which is the basis of a spreadsheet file, and it transfers it. So I was thinking about the automations, and that has become such a time saver to be able to make an offer, announce something, and say, get on my email list. And then it happens without me even seeing it. They put their email in and then they're on the list. And then the next time I send something out, they will get it. So yeah, and you can tie these things together so that when you make a social media post about an offer, it directs people to get on your email list. And if business owners are using something like Etsy, you can tie your email list into that. There are some special regulations about, you can't just automatically put someone on a list. You have to get them to opt in. So make sure you're following all those guidelines, but you can set up those automatic messages to go out. If you sell something, thank you for your order. Would you like to subscribe to my list? Click here. And those automations really help just run things behind the scenes.
It saves you time, it saves you energy, and it doesn't have to be something that's in the forefront of your mind. You put it on the back burner, let it run on automation, check it every once in a while, make sure it's still working, but otherwise just let it run. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that feature.
So I think we can help people with some ideas on how to grow their email list. Once they've chosen a platform, they've got the basic structure set up, then it's all about getting people in the door. And yes, the basic method, that we've heard about in the e-commerce world for many years is the lead magnet. So break that down.
Yeah, so we've got number one is the lead mag. So we've got 5 altogether. And me and Andi were going back and forth and discussing our top 5 that we've used that really pushed our email list. And you're right, Andi. Number 1 is a lead magnet. And a lead magnet is giving something of value in return for their email address. So it can be a tip sheet. It can be a pattern. It can be a workshop, even if you have a mini workshop or a masterclass. It can be anything that will help your customer where they're at, and they'll trade their email address for that thing. And then you can nurture them in your email list and then send them another offer later down the line or right away, depending on what you're doing in the moment. But a lead magnet, you want to make sure that the lead magnet that you choose gives value. So one of the themes that we've been seeing come up that kind of, it's a struggle for business owners, are low value lead magnets. And it's making it harder to convert leads if you have a low value lead magnet. So what you want to look for is, what can you give that solves a problem now? So one of my best pieces of advice that I like to give, and that I've heard and used myself, is having a painkiller versus a vitamin. And I know you've heard me talk about this before. I think we've even talked about it on the podcast before. But if your lead magnet is like a vitamin, where it's nice to have, it's something that you take quite often, it keeps you healthy, and it's nice to have, right? But if you have a headache, you're not going to be reaching for a vitamin in that moment. You're going to be reaching for a painkiller. You want something that's going to help you right now. And that's what your lead magnet needs to be. It's something that can help your ideal customer right now. Now, if that is a pattern, you want to think about how can you position this free pattern to help address a need that your customer has right now. So maybe a baby blanket. Baby showers come really fast. So there is something there where they need a pattern right now for a baby shower that it's in 2 months and they have to make this quilt as fast as possible. That addresses a need rather than a want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that analogy of the painkiller. So,
like some of ours that we've used. Andi, do you want to talk about some of the ones we've used?
Yeah, and that goes into one of the key points that I wanted to bring up with lead magnets, is to make sure it is aligned with your business goal and like what you want to be known for. Yes. Because as quilters especially, there are so many different techniques, methods, styles. And I've shared before, I am not an applique person. So I'm not going to be talking about applique tools or methods or anything like that. But one of my big loves is foundation paper piecing. But is that really the thing I want to teach? No, have been more into half rectangle triangles. So I could put out a tip sheet for paper piecing, but it would be better and more aligned with my current product suite to give a tip sheet on half rectangle triangles. So think about that alignment and really focus on what you want to be known for and build a lead magnet around that. So when we were starting the podcast, we wanted to offer audience a lead magnet and get them interested, get them on a list so that we can continue to communicate with you. And we're so thankful that our listeners have subscribed to our email list. You're the first to hear about upcoming episodes. And we put out a revenue planner because we knew that as new business owners, when you start thinking about what kind of products and services you can offer, it helps to put some numbers with that. So our revenue planner was the very first lead magnet we offered. And as the time went on, we have really enjoyed having live events with our audience. And that turned into a quarterly planning session. And we came up with a goal worksheet. Actually, Tori is the brilliant mind behind that goal setting worksheet and planning session. So if you want to see a lead magnet in action, you can find our goal setting worksheet and sign up for the next quarterly planning session, which will happen on the last Friday of September to get ready for the fourth quarter of 2024. So we hope you'll all join us there.
I think that leads us right into our next way to grow your email list, right? So that's going to be, so one
events
amazing
are,
way. Yeah.
So
They are, and it's an amazing way to invite your community in. So anyone on your email list, anyone on that follows you on social media, because social media is still, it's big, it's important, it's a great tool to use. And getting the word out there about any events that you're hosting, whether they're paid or free, can be a great way to bring people in the door and onto your email list, because they need to sign up in order to get like a link to Zoom if you're hosting it on Zoom, or more information. They need to be emailed that information. So that's a way you can invite people onto your email list, is to host an event. Again, whether it's free or paid, it'll bring in more leads.
Yeah, those events are great, and they can be a single event. Like you said, you could have a quick webinar type session on Zoom, a mini class, or it could be a longer event like a quilt along, and you can drip out content. So again, these events could be hosted on YouTube or Zoom or Facebook, wherever your community is most likely to show up. Or you could kick off an email event. I ran a couple different email quilt along type things, and I would just send out the next step of the pattern the next week. And the only place you could get that was through my email list.
Those are excellent examples.
So what's on next after?
Yeah, so events. Okay, so we got lead magnets, we've got events, and then we also have number 3, subscriber only content. So you want to talk about that a little bit, Andi? Subscriber only content.
Yeah, we want to put out content to our audience on the various platforms that we show up. But to entice someone to your email list, you can offer that exclusive content, that, peek behind the scenes. The Patreon platform is a good example of a way to do that in a little more profit generating place. But just in terms of free content, like I mentioned with the email drip class, that was subscriber only content. You had to be on the list to get that content. And you don't have to kill yourself, making some huge production. You can just have a private video session. Maybe it's a sit and sew time where all your community can tune in and share their projects. Have a mini guild meeting kind of event. That there's a lot of crossover between some of the terms that we're using, but it creates a special feeling for your audience and subscribers if they feel like they're getting something that is not generally available to everyone else.
Definitely. I'm also thinking about sales, bundles. I hear there's one designer that likes to bundle one of her older patterns and one of her newer patterns. So it keeps things in circulation and keeps some of her older patterns top of mind. And that's email only. So you only get that deal if you're on her email list. I'm also remembering a few things about offers. So only offering offers inside, so one thing I've done is a VIP. I did a VIP offer, a VIP day where I offered 8 hours with me of coaching, whatever you want to do at this price point. And I only talked about it in my email list. I didn't put a word out on social media or anywhere public. It was only in my email list. So doing a few things like that, or doing maybe a giveaway just for your email list. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with that, but there's a lot that you can do to tailor content for that email list, and even just expanding what you're putting on Instagram and just using that in your email list. So one thing I like to talk about is creating core content and having that broken up and put into your social media and put in your newsletter. So even then, taking more of that and putting a larger chunk of your core content into your newsletter can be more valuable than just seeing it on social media, especially for your audience who really wants to get to know you, who wants to know what you're doing and what you're doing behind the scenes, what you're creating. They're inspired by you. They want to hear from you. So having a little more content in your newsletter than what you would put out on socials would be enticing for somebody who wants to get to know you and what you're doing.
Yeah. And another idea for subscriber only content is a resource library. A lot of people will set up, a password protected area of their website, or you could even do it in a Google Drive, because you can set the sharing of those Google files to only, certain people have access. And then you can have your whole pattern library. You can have a segment of your patterns that are available in that resource library, certain videos, tutorials, that kind of thing. And that content, then the only way your audience would know about it is if they see the link in the email.
All right. Yeah. Subscriber only content.
Yeah. What else
So far,
can we do to...
Oh yeah, what else we can do? So we've got lead magnet, events, subscriber only content, and then the fourth one I want to talk about is actually launching. So a lot of people think that you have to wait to launch until you have an email list, and they'll build it for years or months, or maybe like one full year, but they wait so long to launch that the people that initially joined are already solved their problem, or they're not looking to solve that problem anymore. And you kind of lose that momentum if you're waiting to grow your email list. So launching is one of the best ways to get people in the door. And launching is all about introducing an offer like it's an event. So you're warming them up with content on social media and your core content and your newsletters everywhere, and you're inviting them in and saying, on this day I am doing something. So whether it's hosting an event, or launching a workshop, maybe you're launching a new pattern and you're doing something along with that pattern, maybe so long, maybe just a percentage off if you're on my email list, something along those lines, where you are building up momentum and excitement, and you have a deadline for this thing that you are sending out or releasing or having them sign up for. So it's very broad, because it could be a lot of different things that you could launch, but just launching it builds up the momentum and the excitement, and they want to see what it is. They want to see what you're doing. And that's when you'll get a huge influx of leads and people on your email list. Not all of them will stay, but it is a great way to build an email list, is just to launch something.
Yeah, for sure, because you can't, and that gives you things to talk about in the emails that you send out, is because you are promoting something. So, yeah, and like you were saying, people can drag this growth process out, but it's so important to take action. So condense that timeline a little bit and get something out the door, like you said, so that you can collect the data. Like you said at the beginning, you like to think of yourself as a scientist. So you need to launch, and then you have information about people responding to your offer, and you can then modify and do it better the next time. So continual reflection leads to growth. So definitely incorporate those launch strategies with
And
your email growth ideas.
something we did for the
So that was
podcast.
4.
Yeah, that was 4. Before we move on, I want to talk about how we launched the podcast. So we hosted
Oh, that's,
a
yeah.
launch party. Remember that, Andi? A year ago, over a year ago now, we did a launch party. So
Yeah.
something as simple as just saying, hey, we have a podcast coming out. This is when we're going to celebrate this new thing, whether, I mean, and it doesn't have to be a brand new business. Like we were starting this podcast as like a business venture. It could be anything, it could be brand new, or even relaunching something that was old that you kind of revamped a little bit. But we hosted a launch party, and that's how we got our first subscribers. Is we hosted a party. And what was great is that not only did we get to bring our friends in and our network in and talk to everyone, we got some feedback on how we can make the podcast better and tailor it for our audience, which was amazing. So it was a great give and take where we got to celebrate. I think we did a giveaway, if I remember right, and we got to ask them questions, and we told them about our ideas and what's coming up, and we even told them about having quarterly planning sessions as an idea, and hosting some other events, which turned into a retreat, which was another thing that we launched, was our retreat, which also grew our email list. So just launching these different things, getting interest in, even if they don't join the actual thing that you're launching, you're still warming them up. And then the next time you launch, you'll have an even bigger audience to launch to. And then maybe they'll be ready the second time you launch, or maybe the third time. There are entrepreneurs that say, James Wedmore, I joined his free thing he was doing a few months ago. And he was saying how he's been in business so long that he knows exactly how long somebody's going to be on his email list before they buy. And it was 4 years. So he knew if he would just hang in there and nurture this lead for 4 years, he would make thousands of dollars off this one lead. And I'm like, that is brilliant. But he's been in business for 14 years, I think. 14? It's in the teens. So we're not quite there yet. However, you can see that the lead that you're getting now, the fact that they keep staying means there's something there that's keeping them there. Now, I will say, and I was going to talk about this at the end, but this might be a good time to kind of interject cleaning up your email list. So after about a year, I do a year because my offers are big. They're very high priced. They're very high commitment. So I wait a year. And if there is subscribers on my list that haven't interacted, that means they haven't opened an email in a year. They haven't clicked on anything in a year. Then I unsubscribe them. And I figured if they're still interested, the next thing I launch, the next thing I offer, they'll sign back up. However, it drives down your numbers to keep people on there that are not interested. It ups your, or I should say, like, it lowers your quality with, and I don't know exactly how it works on the background of all of these different technical things, but I know that if you have people that are not interacting, that are, it's just as bad as having a bunch of unsubscribes. So you don't want to keep people there just because they're there. If your engagement rate is low, it looks bad behind the scenes for your email service provider, for like Google and Yahoo and all the email platforms that are accepting these
all
emails.
that
If they
secret
see
sauce, the things that
exactly,
algorithm tracks.
if they see that people are
It's,
engaging with your emails, they're more likely to keep it out of the spam folder.
Right. Yeah, that dreaded spam folder where people don't know and don't see. So and I'll just offer kind of a side note tip for things you were mentioning, cleaning up your email list. One thing I do is I try to end my emails with a question or something, that a topic, and say, tell me your thoughts. Hit reply to let me know XYZ related to whatever the content of the email was. Because if you can get that person to engage with your email, then obviously that shows the internet people that this is something worthwhile and that people really do want to hear.
Yeah. something that their inbox wants to see. They'll push it up higher. They will keep it out of the junk folder. I call it spam folder, but Gmail I think calls it junk.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
All those little
there's
different things are
plenty
going to
of
help.
yeah. Um, so we've talked about lead magnets and subscriber only content and launches, and what else can we do to grow our email list?
So the fifth one and the last one we're going to talk about today is collaborate. To collaborate with others in the industry. So we talked about a couple of different things. Andi, do you want to go ahead and share a few ideas on how to collaborate?
I love collaborating. Working with other business owners, with other quilters is such fun. And it is one of the easiest ways to exponentially grow what your list or your audience, because you have your core group and you have this other person's core group, and yes, there may be some overlap, but think about all those people that you haven't met yet. I'm here in Arizona. I figure I'm pretty familiar with the quilters in my area, but Tori, you're in Michigan, so you have a whole different group of quilters. And it's amazing, with as much time as I think everybody spends on social media, there are quilters that people follow that they're such diehard fans that I've never even heard of, because it's just the nature of this big industry that we're a part of. So things I do to collaborate, I love kind of old-fashioned blog hops and the associated Instagram loops. And a lot of those, if they have a prize component, that's where you get people to subscribe, is because you say, I'm going to choose the winner of this giveaway. That could be a group bundle with a bunch of different quilters offering a piece of the prize basket. You have to be subscribed to everybody's email list, and that just promotes the growth between the different designers. You can also just introduce new people in your email, in the body of your email. Say, hey, I have this great quilting friend. Let's hear from him or her. And you've had experience with that, haven't you, Tori?
I did. That's how I initially grew my list. I called them featured guests. So I invited those that were in my industry. I put a call out with one of our business classes. I was like, hey, I've got an email list of, I think at times around like 400. I would love to have some like back and forth. I would like to invite you to be a featured writer. They would write a blog post and I would put it in my newsletter, and it was all about them. It was whatever they wanted to talk about, as long as it was quilting, had to do with quilting. And I got some amazing, actually, Andi, I think you were one of my featured writers then. And I put links to all their stuff in there. I wanted to really showcase what they were doing, because I don't know everything, and I wanted to invite all these teachers and these experts that I didn't, about things that I really didn't know, or things that they taught that I didn't teach, and really kind of add value to my newsletter, but also get people onto their newsletter. So I made sure, as they sent over their writing pieces, to link all the different places all over the email, so that they also got the links, like the link backs to their website, which pushed up their website in the SEO in the search engine, and it also helped get people into their email list, got people interested in them, and there are still people who are seeing those blog posts. They're still on my website. If you want to go look at thequiltpatchbytori.com, you can go see those featured writing pieces still, and they're still driving traffic to my website and to their website. And it's wonderful to see. I've got one in particular it's driven hundreds of people to her stuff, and I'm so excited for her. But I had a few months there where I wanted to grow my YouTube. So I invited people for coffee chats, because I love interviewing, and you can see that that's worked its way into our podcast, where we have an interview every other episode. And that's one thing I really loved. I know Andi really enjoys it. So that's how I started, was coffee chats with quilters, and I would invite them on. I would ask them, I had a series of like 7 or 8 questions, and we'd go through the questions, and that's still up on YouTube. Yeah, those are the different ways I brought people in to collaborate, is just to feature them and what they do. And I think it adds a lot of value to what you do, and they bring in their audience by sharing it.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of different collaboration efforts in the quilting space. Pattern bundles is a great way to collaborate with other quilters, and obviously that's going to be something that will get people onto your list, is because if you promote that, that offer on your social media, you're going to ask people to opt in to your email list to get the link to that pattern bundle. So that's one thing I have seen. And the other one, really intriguing, that I want to try out, I just haven't had the time to put all the pieces together, is a virtual summit.
Yes.
Get different teachers together and host a summit. Each person could present for anywhere from 10-15 minutes to a full hour or two workshop over the course of several days. And that really, like we said, it amplifies the audience for each individual person, because they bring their own perspective, their own audience to the group, and then you put all those together, and it really can speed up that growth of your email as you combine efforts with others in a similar space.
And I will say a similar vein is co-teaching. So having a workshop where you're both an expert in different aspects of the same craft. So like long arming, if someone is really good with feathers and another person is really good with rulers, maybe you guys can team up and share how you can use rulers to make all these different outlines or different shapes. And then the person who is great with feathers can teach you how to fill in with feathers and create this amazing collaboration of both these techniques that two different teachers are specialized in. So finding different ways to bring in at least like one other person, 5 other people, or you can do a huge group like Andi was talking about, maybe 12 or 15 designers. It just kind of depends on what you can do, what you want to do, especially because there's a lot of planning and stuff that goes into that stuff. But collaborating, we have an entire episode on collaborating. So if you want more ideas on collaboration, we not only have another podcast full of ideas, we have a blog post that goes along with it that has it all listed out so you can have a reference for different ways to collaborate and get your ideas going.
Yeah, so many ideas. My mind is just overflowing with ways, efforts that we can incorporate some of these techniques for our podcast and our individual businesses as well. So let's do a quick recap of our 5 ways to grow your email list.
So our 5 ways are lead magnets. We lead with value on those. And number 2, events. This could be free or paid events. Number 3 is subscriber-only content. Number 4 was launching. Actually get the launch going, build that momentum launching. And then the 5th one was collaboration. So 5 different ways to grow your email list.
Those are such great techniques, and I would love to hear from our audience which methods they are currently using, which methods they are excited to try next, because we always want you to take action. That's the only way that you're going to grow, is actually putting one of these strategies into effect and step out and just give it a try. In terms of getting started and finding that motivation, Tori, we haven't shared in a while. What's inspiring you lately?
What's inspiring me lately? Well, currently what's top of mind is I'm following Shannon Brinkley currently. She's doing a launch of something. She hasn't told us yet, so I'm sure when this episode comes out we'll see. But I love that Shannon Brinkley always goes back to nurturing your creativity. And that's inspiring me right now. Is I'm trying to think of ways that I can nurture my creativity even during this really busy season, because I'm currently launching my book, Workshops Unleashed, which is releasing in September. I don't have an exact date yet because it's self-published and we are figuring out the details here. And there's storms. Oh my goodness, the storms are delaying so many things. But anyway, so I'm in this huge busy season. And that's one thing that's been inspiring me lately, is trying to hear what she's saying and internalize it, and then actually take action on it and find a spot for my creativity, because I still struggle with quilting. like picking up fabric out. I've shared before that I hit burnout so hard with quilting. Like I could not touch fabric for a long time, but my mind is thinking of quilt ideas again. And it's exciting me, but I don't have a lot of time. So I might start small, but that's who's inspiring right now. Shannon Brinkley and her idea of bringing creativity and nurturing your creative side and making it part of your business. Andi, who's inspiring you?
We follow a lot of the same things. So hearing from all of the new business owners, the people that are just considering launching a business, which we hope is our audience as well, taking those first steps, just the energy and excitement of the new folks as they explore, ways, like you said, ways to nurture their creativity, ways to make money from this wonderful hobby that we all share, this quilting craft and working with fabric. There are so many different avenues that it really gets me excited, just the energy of these people. And I am heading out in a few weeks to a quilt retreat, and just the energy in that group and meeting new people is really exciting for me.
That is so true. No, I'm seeing the energy as well. And if you're sharing your wins in those business Facebook groups, just know that people are being inspired by you. Every win that you share, every aha moment that you share, either someone is right there with you or they are cheering you on, just like me and Andi are cheering you on. Every win, every action, every step you take closer to what you want. We are excited for you and we are cheering you on.
What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.